but let me do a real wide one here. I'm making my circle much, much bigger than last time. And it's tending more towards a longer shape. If you do a tight little circle, you're going to have more of a flying saucer shape. So this is a lot of fun. Just experiment and try and get a feel for a tight circle, a medium circle, and a wide circle. And you'll see all the different shapes you can create. Now finally, this little piece here was done with one of these cutters. And that's the only one that we're not going to start with a sphere. I'm actually going to cut it out with these little cutters. Now these are fun cutters. They come in all shapes, all kinds of different shapes, and within each shape there's a whole bunch of different sizes. So you can go from really, really tiny, and this is the biggest one. You're going to hold it by the gold part like a cookie cutter. And it's very tempting to push this plunger because it's fun, but you don't need to do that in the beginning. What you want to do is just push straight down. In this case, I'm actually going through 2 layers at a time to make a thicker bead. Now, when you use the plunger is, if it gets stuck in there, you can just pop it out. And there you have your bead. You can also do it in 2 different colors if you want. You could do 2 separate single ones and then put them together so they were different layers, different colors. All right. Speaking of the cutters, all of these little beads were made with the exact same amount of clay. So if you're stringing a necklace and you want all of your beads to be exactly the same, it's a really good idea to pre-measure the clay first, because once you roll it into a shape, you're just not going to be able to judge how much clay you use. So what I usually do is I pre-measure using one of these cutters. Doesn't matter what shape even. But for these little ones, I chose, this is the thickest setting on my pasta machine, and I use 2 rounds. So if you do that, it's going to give you this amount of clay. So if you want all your beads to be the same, pre-measure all your clay first. That's a good idea. All right. While we're talking about beads, let's talk about how to put the holes through. You should have a couple of needle tools. I have several different sizes. I have my handy pin. I have a thicker one. You can use a knitting needle. But the principle's the same. You kind of want to put a finger on the end you're aiming for and just start slowly going straight through. And you can feel when it's going to hit your finger. And you want, before it pops out, you want to pull it back out, reverse it, and go through the other way. And that is going to keep your ends looking a little better, not flaring as much. Make sure that your needle goes all the way through, because if it doesn't go through now, it's not going to go through in the bake bead. And then you get to invest in a nice little drill. Put your holes in. All right, now we have all these little beads decorated, or made. Here's just some really, really, really basic decorations. A very common one. Let's go back to our sphere. There. Very common one. My clay is getting softer, so you can't actually get a nice round ball anymore. But very common way to decorate. It's just putting tiny little dots of clay on it. And remember, when you roll this, if you roll it smooth, they will expand. So you don't want to start with huge pieces. Of course, another option is you could just decorate your whole bead like this and leave them dimensional. Leave it like that. But you can also then roll it in and have a polka dot effect like that. And that's fun because you can do, a base color bead and put all different colors of polka dots or, all kinds of combinations. So that's fun just to do polka dot bead. I'm going to use the other end of this, pretend we don't have dots on that side. And we can just roll real thin snakes and wrap those around. Again, you can leave it dimensional. You can just put stripes. You can put squiggles. And you can leave it like that. You can roll it in. Okay. And this is a classic bead. This is a great way to use up scraps. It's just marbleizing clay. So we haven't talked about that yet. So let me just show you how to marbleize clay. Basically, you roll 2 snakes that are about the same width. And well, they don't have to be the same width. If you want one color to be dominant, you can certainly use less of one clay, but you probably want the length to be about the same. So you're going to take your colors. You can obviously use more than 2 colors, and twist it into a snake. Roll it up. Roll it in your hands. And that's, technically that's marbleized, but it's kind of blobby. So the more you then roll it into a snake and twist, those lines are going to become finer and finer. Actually, you could just leave that like that and cut it and have a twisted bead like that if you wanted. But I'll keep on rolling. And that maybe as marbleized as you want it. If not, just keep on going. Just keep on twisting. You don't want to blend the colors, but you could take quite a bit of twisting before the colors start to blend and get it as marbleized as you like. All right, our final thing is baking the beads. You can string your beads on wires and lay them across your baking pan. You can put them on quilt batting or fiber fill on your tray, or you can do a little nifty thing like this. This is just an index card I folded, and if you lay the beads on there, they won't get a flat spot. All of that, putting them on the wire, putting them on batting, putting them in here, is to prevent a flat spot from forming when they sit on the baking pan. So if you have a round bead and you want to keep it round, you can just bake them up in a little contraption like that. All right, so we have our very basic shapes, our very, very basic decoration, and our basic baking all set.